Hola. Hola from the west side. It's your girl, DC, the Purple Diva. And it is a transformational Tuesday. So happy Tuesday. And if it's already Wednesday where you are, happy hump day too. I see I've got some love already in the chat. Hey Kinks. Hey Terry. Thank you guys for coming on in. Please make sure that you are smashing that like button. Give me a like as you come in. And we're going to get started in just a second. We'll just let the music marinate with us for a minute here. And my son is here with me as well. So you will hear him in the background. But we had a very interesting conversation earlier. Hey, Miss Sherry. How are you? Conversation earlier. Hey, Miss Sherry. How are you? Oh, let me start that. Yeah. I'm trying to pull it up on my thing so I can see you guys a little faster. I always have to remember to turn down the volume on my phone so we don't have a double situation in here. So that's what we're getting ready to do. Now make sure I turn down the daggone volume. Yep, there is no volume now, so now I can look at it in the chat. How you doing, Miss Sherry? Hey, Soul Illuminations. How are you? We are starting with, we having a transformational Tuesday because I think we need to transform our minds. Y'all know what? We got to transform our thinking because there's some crazy stuff and there's some crazy thought processes out here. And I'm not just talking about on YouTube, y'all. Not just on YouTube. I mean, I'm watching the news here in California, y'all. And the California DMV had a security breach today that affects, I don't know, 750,000 Californians. Yeah. And I'm sure it's all around this new national ID that we all have to get. But now people's information is floating out there. And they don't even know how much of their information is floating out there. And this is the reason why your girl DC uses a P.O. box for all forms coming to her, including my driver's license. But yeah, that's what's going on out here in California today. And then we saw that we had a officer, and I'm not sure what part of the country he's in, but he did some craziness and body slammed a young girl because she kicked him on his heel. And kids can do some crazy stuff sometimes because they, you know, their brains aren't fully developed. But a grown man at no point should be body slamming, I don't know, 10 or 11-year-old child. You know, I mean, really. But this is a grown man doing this, who is a police officer. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but the blue wall doesn't discriminate in its brutality. Doesn't really matter that the officer in question was black, or that the little girl in question was not. We need a serious transformation of our minds in this country. Because the fact that he thought that was right, because there are news reports where he's justifying whatever he did, you know, or apologizing or whatever he's doing, but that man is going to go to jail. Y'all know that, right? And somehow, I don't know how they're going to do it, but somehow police officers are going to have to transform our minds in our thinking of them. Because I don't know about y'all, but my eyes are wide open when it comes to officers of the law. Oh yeah, but Cherry, we all know it doesn't matter where you are in the country, what city, what state, rural or urban, there is corruption in the majority of the police forces around the United States. You know, there are some other countries where police officers don't even carry guns. Like, I'll give you an example. When I went to Bermuda a few years ago, and I know that Bermuda is under the UK, but yeah, the policemen there, they don't carry guns. They can't carry guns. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that in Bermuda, the police don't have guns? Also, every school-age child in the Bahamas has a laptop computer. And they carry it to and fro from home to school with them. And they don't have to worry about them getting stolen. I guess that's why the police don't have to carry guns. You know? I just think that's a very interesting fact. And, you know, I just don't understand. I mean, every day you look and there's another story about some cop somewhere in this United States doing something to somebody. And and it's been a high percentage of them doing stuff to kids lately. Have you guys noticed that? Have you guys noticed that? We need to transform the minds of America. We need to transform the minds and the hearts of this country. Because we are living in a nation that is wicked and ungodly. You know? And, you know, I mentioned this in another show earlier when I was on the panel. And thank you again, Miss Kinks. But, you know, I mentioned about the fact that all 50 states by next year, on October the 20th, 2020, you know, right before our 2020 elections, that every American has to have this national ID. And I am actually looking into the fact of if you have a passport, if you still have to have that ID, but I'm sure they have some way of making you get that ID anyway. You know, because my sister has both. But I have a passport right now. I haven't gotten that ID because of the issues that they've been having with the breach of people's information here in the state of California with the DMV here. So, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to these continuous breaches that they have. Because I don't know if you guys know in other parts of the country, but the DMV in California had a huge overhaul because of fraud and mismanagement and, every DMV office being in chaos for the consumers. And another thing that you guys may not know if you live in another part of the country is that in California, unlike other states, you can't get your ID right there when you go into DMV. Yeah, we got to wait for our stuff to come from Sacramento because, they got to make sure that, you, the person who came in, is really who you said you are because of the identity theft in the state of California. And it's been like that the entire time that I've been here. And I've been here for quite some time. But other states managed to keep theirs where they can produce people's IDs that same day. I don't understand why they can't do that in the state of California. I don't understand. And I know that they probably can. I don't know why they won't go to that system. Why they have to keep everything on this archaic system of everything going to Sacramento so somebody can visually check it. Yeah, well, Kings, if you work in fields like medicine or finance, professions where you have to be bondable, they already know you. Like, I can promise you that the Department of Justice has had my fingerprints for years because I've worked in the banking industry since my 20s. So, if you're a law-abiding citizen and everything, you're not hiding from them in the first place. And unless you go off the grid, yeah, but my thing about California is that every other state, as far as I know, every other state, when you walk into the motor vehicle departments in other states to get your state ID or your driver's license, you take the picture, you get it there. Same day. You don't have to wait for it to come be mailed to you, 10 days down the line, after it goes to Sacramento and everything, everything's digital now. So it just makes you wonder why California takes people through those kind of hoops. Hey, DOD. Hey, Leopard. How are you? Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Just making sure I'm not missing the chat because I know y'all know how I can start talking and I'll go off on a tangent. But yeah, anyway, I have a passport, so at least for now, I don't necessarily need to get the real ID, but my son is getting ready to renew his passport, but he still has to get a new ID because his old ID expired. And I think the way it works is if your ID expires, you have to get the new ID anyway. So I have to take his birth certificate down there and go through the nightmare. And it'll be interesting because it's always a difficult situation to get an ID for him, But we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's California news today with that. They've pretty much gotten the fire somewhat controlled and everything. And hopefully we won't have any more. So I won't have any more to talk about. My driver's license doesn't expire for 2 more years. It doesn't expire. Yeah, mine doesn't expire for 2 more years, but you know, it's some way they gonna make everybody get that ID. I'm telling you. Somehow they're gonna make us all get that stupid ID. That's why I'm making sure that I keep my passport up to date. So that if I don't have to get it, I won't. But then when I go to renew my license the next year, I'll have to get it. And who knows? Maybe because they're having all these issues with all of the states being compliant by October. That even though they said they won't extend it, they will, but they say they're not extending it past October. So it'll be an interesting thing. Kinks, you are funny. Well, I'm pretty sure whatever we have now has some kind of chip and stuff in it, because I know the last change that they made to the California IDs and licenses, there used to be like a thin piece of paper. Now there are these thick things with the computer strip on the back, a magnetic strip on the back. So whatever they're trying to put in these real IDs is federal requirements. It has nothing to do with what the states require. That's why everybody's jumping through hoops in all 50 states. Yeah, they already have the barcode. So, I mean, what else are they going to put on there? You know, I personally think that what they're doing is they're making everybody upgrade their IDs so that the IDs will all have the capabilities of having more information on them in the future. That's what I'm thinking. You know, like they can put all your records on that little magnetic strip. That's what I'm thinking is why they're doing that. Yeah, well, Kinks, I don't know about in your state, but here you have to do your thumbprint when you do your license. So they have your thumbprint. At least in California. I mean, I think that's the only one that they only do your thumb for your license. Hey, Angeline. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We're talking about the national ID. Yeah, in California, they already do the fingerprint. I mean, the thumbprint. But like I told you, because I've worked in finance and in banking my entire career, and had to be bondable, the FBI already has my daggone fingerprints, and they've had them for years. Trust, I know, because a few years ago, someone, I guess the FBI has a real estate fraud division, and they came and found me on a loan that I had been the underwriting manager on from at least 10 years prior, and had me to do a subpoena statement in regards to my remembrance of it. So I know they know where I am. But I'm not hiding. If I want to hide, I'll just go off the grid. You know, go off the grid. like some people do now. They're off the grid. But yeah, for me, just looking at our country as a whole and how the rest of the world perceives us too. A lot of the stuff that our country spouts as their ideals, it's not true. You know, I mean, I think I've already talked about the fact that although we like to say that our country was founded on Christian principles, it was about money and power. Religious freedom was an afterthought that they just added. Now, some of the people that came to our country were coming here because of religious persecution. But that's not why the founding fathers came here. And all but one of the founding fathers was a Mason. So it was about power for them. You know, but a very good point was brought up in another broadcast earlier. And I do want to expound on that point. You know, is that the first Africans in the United States were not slaves. Some of them were indentured servants. And some of them came over here and fought in the Revolutionary War for our side to help us get free, our country to get free. And those people, some of them were granted their freedom and they were never slaves. And if you look around, you will find that there are blacks in the United States whose families were never slaves because they were always free. So the myth. Oh, you were at Roland Martin's podcast? Yeah, Roland Martin. Oh yeah, and there's a replay somewhere that I'm gonna have to go look at later, where Dr. Umar Johnson is apparently having a conversation with somebody on the Fly Nubian Queens network with that chick Miss Vicky Dillard. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that conversation. That should be interesting. And somebody else is doing a replay of it right now. But yeah, there are African Americans that were never slaves. I mean, whose ancestors were never slaves. You know, it's more than people think. You know, so although that is in the history of the majority of us through the diaspora, it's not for everyone. Really? I'm gonna have to go back and look and see what he's talking about. You know, but Roland Martin, sometimes it's hard to watch him because he has his own agenda in doing his interviews and stuff. You know. And didn't he get caught up in this Me Too movement stuff with somebody in his at his show where they were having a consensual relationship or something? I vaguely remember that. But yeah, it's a lot going on. Hey, Blind Needle, how are you? Yeah, you have to listen to some of these people very, very selectively out there because they have their own agendas as to what they're saying. And their agenda is not to transform the mindset in our country. Their agenda is to edge on the chaos. Yeah, there was something about Roland Martin and some indiscretions, apparently. He denies them, but nevertheless, the allegations were out there. But that was like a few months back that I heard that in regards to him. How are you doing tonight, Blind Needle? I didn't get to go to any of my crafting channels today. Yeah, it was a couple of months ago, Terry, but it's be interesting to get his perspective nonetheless in regards to that, because I just like to see it. I'm very interested in this interview that Vicky Dillard is doing or did earlier with Umar Johnson. And Your Black World is replaying it right now, but they have a crappy replay of it because everything is buffering on their thing. So I'm gonna go back and look at it on the original channel. But yeah, I think the conversation that we were having earlier was a very, very interesting conversation, and I'm gonna take it a little bit further to say that, in this country, they don't want families, period. They don't. This is not a country that supports marriage and family at all. Because it is so easy to get a divorce in the United States now. There's not really support of people becoming families and staying families. And although, my perspective is probably more from the perspective of a person of color, it's really across the board, no matter what your ethnicity is, because when you think about the divorce rate, it's kind of the same no matter what your race is, which is really sad in the United States, And I think it's growing in the younger generation. And then you just have ones who a lot of them are just like, I'm not getting married anyway. They don't even, marriage doesn't even cross their mind. Doesn't even cross their mind, But they're not willing to give up having kids. They want to have what they consider a non-traditional family. But if you aren't living in the same place together and building together, how is it a family? Can somebody explain that one to me? I don't understand that one. I don't understand that one at all, And, although I am not married right now, I will be again one day. But the majority of my friends are. And maybe it's because of the age range that I'm in, I'm not saying that people didn't get divorced, but actually, I've got a few friends that have been married to the same person since their 20s, So there's still people in our country that believe in family, that believe in, you know, kids being raised with both parents being there, if they're both alive. You know, I mean, situations where, you know, one of the parents is deceased, that's a whole different situation. But in situations, you know, where people just decide they don't want to try, it's just, you know, it's just a sad part of this country. And now we have all of these people, not necessarily of the same ethnicity as myself, who are suddenly screaming and mad and trying to outlaw abortion in this country, so that what do they think that will make women have more babies? But if you're not promoting family, what is your objective in that? Control? I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, you know, I mean, but people would have you believe that wanting to be married is an outdated concept, and that's not what we should be thinking about, no matter where we are. And I disagree with that. I also disagree with, you know, having the sister wives. I don't agree with that one either. You know, I mean, but no one's going to make me believe that there are not still good men out there and good women who, if they find each other, would make a good match together. Just not going to believe that. Not going to believe that one. Regardless of what YouTube streets might tell you. I live in the real world. I live in the real world. Yeah, it is based on commitment. But the thing is that we have made marriage into a civil union. It's not a spiritual union anymore. It's a civil union now. That's what we've done to it. You know, that's what we've done to it. And that's not, I mean, it was created by the one above. You know, it was created by the one above. He don't like divorce. And I don't see hardly anywhere in the Bible, you know, there's only certain situations where there were multiple wives and it was for specific reasons, you know, like to grow a nation. But outside of that, for the most part, I see one man with one wife for most of the things, you know, for most of what's in the Bible. You know, but we've made marriage used to be a religious ceremony, you know, because people having a relationship with the one above. But because, you know, we have so many that don't believe in the one above or any higher being, you know, it's civil now. It's a civil union so that no one's offended. And that probably is what has made it not such a serious commitment as it was before. You know, yeah, generations, you know. I mean, and do you know, this is a fact. People live longer if they have a mate. Did you know that? That statistically, people live longer if they have a mate. So, The myth of us being the plan to have us not be together is so that we won't live as long, because we won't be with a mate. And I'm not saying that single people die earlier. I'm just saying statistically, you know, they've done studies in regards to that. Yeah, I agree that marriage should be between between two people, period. You know, and you know, I'm of the opinion, you know, a man and a woman, but now that they've made it into a civil situation and it's not really about a commitment to God anymore, you know, anybody can get married. You can even marry yourself legally. So, you know, people do kinds of crazy things like that. Yeah, I think it is less stressful when you have someone to share your life with. You know, and we all know that women deal with stress very differently than men, because we really weren't built to deal with the stresses that we do deal with when we're not in a relationship. We really weren't. We were built to, you know, have kids and take care of the home. That's what we were built for. And because we do so many other things, you know, because you no longer have the stay-at-home moms, it is what it is. But it makes it much harder, because you have to think about it. Because a lot of places you have both a man and the man and the woman are working even after the marriage, and sometimes that can be very emasculating for the man, especially if that woman is making more money than her male counterpart. You know, and I can attest to that from personal experience. It can become a problem. You know, so that's one of the other things that you have to deal with when both parties are working, and it's in a marriage. Because again, traditional marriages are pretty much gone, at least in this country. But I know people that do it. My best friend, all of her kids are grown now, but she has 6 kids, and she was home as soon as baby number 2 hit. From then on, she was at home, and her husband did what he had to do to make sure that she could stay home, because he wanted all them 6 kids. Is it just me and you, Kinks? Ruth had a husband. I don't know. I think it may just be 2 of us in the chat. That's how my chats do go. People come in and out. They come in and they come out. I saw DOD in here for a minute, then he jumped out. Oh, it's 3 of us. It must be, you know what? Let me fix this. I know why I can't see everybody. Now I can see everybody. Yeah, I had to change the settings on my phone. It was only showing me the top chat. It wasn't showing me the whole chat. Thank you, Terry. I said, did Terry abandon me? I'm like, you never abandoned me. But yeah, I think we can have some serious conversations about relationships. About, like, I'm planning on having one about co-parenting and about the divorce rate in families with a child with special needs, because the divorce rate among those parents is about the same as the regular population. And generally the divorces are not about the child with special needs. They usually are about the same things that the general population has, you know, finances, you know, and then parents dealing with the child's disability differently, you know, because in that situation, it's either going to pull you together or tear you apart. You know, it's going to either pull them together or tear them apart. But I've noticed that, like, on YouTube, there's a few that's like, it's the mother and the father that are doing the channels. And then there's a couple that are like me, where it's just the mom and the dad's not necessarily around. But the other one where it's an adult with autism that's on here, her parents are still, the parents are still together. The father just doesn't want to come on camera. It's just the mom who's doing most of the stuff. And she's running that YouTube channel. But the divorce rate, I can see, and I know that from being on my Facebook groups, is, you know, and sometimes it's the dad who is the one who ends up being the parent that is taking care of the child with the special needs. Most times the kids end up being with the mom, but there are situations where the mom bails and the dad is the one who has the kid. But yeah, soon as I figure out how to do panels and how to pop up stuff and do all that fancy stuff the rest of y'all do, you know, because I can't say I don't have a decent computer, because my computer, even though it's an old Mac, it's still not a bad one. I think we lost Kinks. I think Kinks dropped out now. Yep. It would be interesting to, you know, just to talk about that. I mean, and to talk about that in regards to, just to talk about divorce period in the Black community, and how we have far fewer marriages now than we did. Oh, I see you. You needed some water. I see you, Kinks. Yeah, see, I have my water sitting right next to me. I have my water sitting right next to me, and you hear my son is getting him some ice. Because where I have my laptop set up, I'm near the kitchen. Yeah, I think that would be informative. Get some different perspectives. You know, get some people that have been married and still are married, and then get some people that have been married and a divorce and remarried, and then some who are, you know, who may have been in other situations, just to kind of chop it up. You know, that's why I'm always promoting, you know, when I see couples, you know, Black couples that are divorced, and it's sad to me. It is, especially the high profile ones, especially ones who are high profile, you know, because not like their relationship goals or anything, but it's just, you know, you want to see, you know, Black couples survive. You want to see them survive. You know, that's why, like with that situation, you know, whatever's going on with, you know, with Kenya Moore, yeah. I mean, you have this is you know a beautiful Black woman who, yeah, she's definitely been through some things, you know, in life, and you know has had some damage, but at least she actually did go through some types of therapy and everything at different points in her life to try to help her to be a better person, you know. But then she gets with this guy, and unfortunately she still had that mythical you know, where's my Prince Charming? She was looking for the Prince Charming, you know. And I'm not saying that some women aren't going to find a Prince Charming, but that's not what they should be looking for. They should be looking for a mate, you know, not for a savior. They should be looking for a mate, not a savior. And really, they're not even supposed to be looking. The man's supposed to find them. But, you know, that's another story. Because you have a lot of women who are so thirsty. They so thirsty for a man, they're not going to wait. You know, they chasing men. And men don't like to be chased. They don't really respect that. At least men I know. But then you have some men who like women, who like to have women chase them. They get off on that. They get off on that. You know, but again, you know, we're talking about young minds, because, you know, just as our friend said in the other thing, you know, when you really get down to it, and you think, and you're talking about men and women, we're just grown up boys and girls, and we still exhibit some of those boy and girl tendencies even as adults. And that's part of the thing. That's part of the thing that make for the conflicts that we have. Yeah, I know. I agree. I agree, Terry. I'm not saying we all out here thirsty, because I'm sure not. You're gonna have to come find me. And I'm not that easy to find, because I'm not out there all the time, you know. It's definitely, you know, you got to put in some effort to get to me, obviously, because I don't work in an office. So it's not like, you know, and I'm not hanging out at the clubs, and I don't do online dating, you know. So that probably limits the pool. But, you know, I still get asked out. So somebody must think I'm worth the effort. But yeah, you have a lot of females that will chase men, that will, you know, do all of this stuff, you know, that they don't have a standard. They don't set a standard. They don't give an expectation, because truly most men are only going to do as much as you allow them to do. Mm-hmm. If they really want to be with you, they're not going to put you through a whole bunch of junk if you're not the type to put up with it. You know, you don't. It's like you don't have to play a whole bunch of games with a real guy. You don't have to play a whole bunch of games with a real dude. You just don't have to do that. What'd you say? Finds this unicorn. Yeah, you know. That's right. I don't know. One of my exes said I was one of the best kept secrets in LA. People ain't know about me. They still don't. You know? They don't know all the stuff that I do, you know? All the stuff that I, you know, that I'm capable of. But that is okay. Because they're not supposed to know. Only the right person's supposed to know. You know? In the meantime, I'm doing me. And I'm good with that. Shoot, man. If it's the right one, he gonna find you no matter what. They're gonna find you no matter what. That's the way it works. It you know, kind of, it helps being hidden because then you don't have to deal with as much of what's not for you. You know? Yep. Yep. You know. But, you know, like, I'm sticking my feet in the pond. I'm sticking my feet in the pool. The water's warm. So, but I'm still on the side of the pool. We'll see how things go. Because, like I said, for me, until there's a ring, we're just dating, you know. But I'm a date one guy at a time kind of girl. Let me be very clear about that. I'm not, you know, when I was younger, young girls, you know, yeah, they can do that. They can be, you know, dating a whole bunch of different guys and everything, as long as they're not sleeping with all of them, you know. But when you're older, yeah, you're gonna tend to, you know, date one guy at a time. Makes life easier, you know. People who juggle folk, I don't know how y'all do that stuff. That's just crazy to me. It takes too much work to juggle folk. It's just easy. It's hard enough with dealing with one person. Yeah. Why you want to do more than one? That's why I'm like, when this dude talking about polygamy, I'm like, are you kidding me? One person's personality, you know. In my head, I figure I'm enough for a man, and if I'm not enough for you, then you need to go find the one woman that is. You know. You know, that's all I'm saying. But you know, I worry because, you know, one of these days my son is gonna want to, you know, to date a female as soon as he just figures out how to talk to him. But the reality is he, you know, he's a very nice looking young man, you know, and girls don't care that he has autism. They don't even care about that. Clearly, they don't care, you know. That's right. Hit that like button, please. And if you're in the clouds, come on out. I can't bite through YouTube. But you know what I noticed? You know what I noticed, Kings? Is that everything when we're using StreamYard, for some reason there's a lag between when stuff is heard on StreamYard versus on YouTube, but then there's a lag between when somebody writes something on YouTube and it hits StreamYard. So hence, whenever you're doing a StreamYard, you got to have your mobile device so you can follow the chat, so you don't miss anything. You know. But my ultimate goal, I just want our people to love each other. Love each other. Stop fighting with each other. And then once y'all finish doing that, okay, then you might have time for somebody else. But the infighting that I see on YouTube is just not a good look. It's just not a good look. Because we all know we don't know nobody on YouTube, not really. Unless you knew them before you came on YouTube, or you actually met them off YouTube, y'all don't know each other. So why do people do that? That's why I call this transformation. People need to transform their mindset and how they look at stuff, especially when it comes to what we say on here, because I feel that a lot of these smaller channels that are putting out good content are going to be the influencers. So we don't want to be caught up in the drama. We just want to put out positive content that's going to be dropping knowledge, so that we can draw people to our channels despite the small numbers. Because we all know a lot of people come through trolling through your lives that aren't even subscribed, but they coming through anyway. Hey, Anna, how are you? How are you? Happy Tuesday or Wednesday. You always come through, Anna. Thank you so much for coming through. Just having a conversation, just talking about, people transforming their minds and being in a more positive place and not going in all the negative places that we see a lot of the conversations go online, and people not liking people that they don't even know personally, but they don't like their opinion. Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And if you don't like what somebody's saying, you don't have to watch their channel. You don't have to visit their live streams. You can just stay away from that person, But the bigger picture is that, I'm here to drop knowledge, to be an influencer in the autism community, and just being a beacon of hope for people, that are going through what I've already been through. Because, as I've been growing my channel on YouTube, I have found so many good channels that are hidden all over the world. And, like people that are just here to give knowledge for free. They just want to tell people things, like people talking about investing, people talking about entrepreneurship, about, different types of lifestyles, talking about the parts of the world that they live in, and just allowing us to broaden our horizons to see what else is going on in the world. Because you have all of these people that are coming on here and literally showing a piece of themselves, good, bad, or indifferent, to the world. Hey, PK Strange, how are you? Thank you for coming through. I'm just talking about all of the wonderful channels that I have found in my journey on YouTube. And just learning about different people around the world. I mean, to be honest with you, it really kind of gives you more hope, you know, for humanity in some situations when you come out of yourself and out of the whatever side of YouTube that you're on and kind of look at other parts of YouTube and see what's going on around the world and what other people are going through. Because like in some of the things that I looked at, I was looking at like all of the stuff that's going on in South Africa, you know, with the killings and the hatred for the immigrants from other African nations. And then I think about what's going on in this country and how we, you know, are having, you know, have a president who's trying to build walls and everything, but, you know, praying that, you know, it doesn't get to that kind of poison where people are you know, literally people are getting killed in the streets in South Africa who have migrated there from other countries because of issues in the countries that they were in. And they're tax-paying citizens, but they're being shot in the street. You know, this is the same South Africa who was an apartheid state. I'm just saying, and this is something that's been going on in the last couple of months. I don't know, Terry, you might know about what I'm talking about, but I've seen that because there's people who've actually posted it on their daggone YouTube channel, and it's sad to me, you know. But then again, on the other hand, it just shows me that we are far removed from that right now, but it could be like that here because of things that are being said on the national front by the president here and by his political affiliates, you know. Yeah. I mean, you know, you look and see it. I mean, I look at the stuff that's going on here in our country, and I mean, you still have to think about the fact that my son is 24, and for the majority of his life, we have been at war. Even though we aren't talking about it, right? You know, we don't really talk about it. It's not like on the forefront. You know, we still have people over in the Middle East, so we're still at war. We're still at war. It's just not on American soil, so it's not in people's face. But it's been normalized for us to be in a continuous war. Think about that, you guys. I mean, think about that. We have been at war continuously since I was in my 20s. Since I was in my 20s. I know. I know. I mean, but they don't talk about that about that stuff going on down in South Africa. You know, that would be really bad press for South Africa. You know, but I know, like I think I've told you guys before. I know Ron Elmore, or Dr. Ron Elmore, the guy who wrote the book How to Love the Black Man and How to Love the Black Woman. He's a pastor now. Or he's a pastor now. And he and his wife live in South Africa now. And they're doing like missions work over in South Africa. So when I saw this stuff, you know, it made me, you know, think about them and, you know, think about their safety, you know, being in that country. You know, because even though it's no longer an apartheid state and everything, there's still remnants of its past there. There's still remnants of that past. Thank you for coming through. Thank you so much for coming through, PK. I appreciate everybody who comes through, even if you stop through for a few minutes. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm like, one day I'll have the chats where they have 28 and where they have 30 and 40 and 50 people in their chats. I don't know how I'll be able to handle that one. But you know, I'm enjoying the ride while it's small, because when it gets big, y'all with wrenches, y'all gonna be on real duty. You know, because right now, most of the people that come through are really, really nice. But we, you know, every once in a while, you get a troll who comes through, who says something really crazy and weird, you know. And although I am an autism channel, you guys know that that's not the only thing that I talk about. It can't be that, you know, I wouldn't be a well-rounded person if that was all I talked about. But I do talk about it a lot. And, you know, like that's one of the things that really disappoints me about the continent is the lack of services, you know, for all these children of color that are on the spectrum, you know, and that the stigma on autism there is 100 times worse than it is here in the United States, because many of these kids are locked up and hidden over there, you know, and there's only like 5 or 6 countries that have any type of services. So that disturbs me a lot, because that affects me, because that's so many children of color. That's so many kids of color. And yes, of course, and we know that most of the kids on the continent of Africa, they generally get that same kind of crazy bundling of the vaccines as they do here in the United States. So, you know, knowing what we know about the vaccines and about the impact that they have on males of color, you know, and it's very interesting that it affects Hispanic or Latin Hispanic, not Spanish from Spain, you know, not the European, but Latin and, you know, Black. It's just very interesting that those two are the groups that have the highest percentage or disposition for it in by having the vaccinations bundled. And I don't know if it's, I can't even say that would be environmental. I don't know if that's something because of maybe our diets, how we eat in the two cultures. I don't know, you know, because, you know, maybe because most of us, a lot of us nurse our kids in those two cultures. You know, I don't know. You know, it could be anything, you know. But again, they got this information, and if they have done more of a study on it, they're hiding that information too, you know. But at least, you know, it's becoming more known again that, yeah, those vaccinations have something to do with so many Black and brown boys having autism. And I'll say this till the day I die, I believe that that's what caused my son to have it. I believe that that's what caused it in my son. That's what I believe. You know, but, you know, when people talk about cures for autism, what they're really talking about is that you have a person who has autism who, because of intense therapy, you know, and all kinds of stuff to help them to not do certain things like their stimming or whatever, to help them to find other things and to learn how to act appropriately. And because of them being verbal, people assume that they must no longer have autism, but it's not really that the autism was ever cured. It's just that now it's presenting itself differently because the individual has learned to present themselves differently. And that's why they appear to not necessarily have autism, but they still have it. It's just that, you know, they are the ones who are able to get that intense therapy, which is what happened with Diesel Braxton, Tony Braxton's son. And that's why people forget that he has autism, you know, because he's able to, you know, integrate and mainstream. He was able to mainstream successfully because of all of the stuff that she was able to do for him when he was young. All right, Blind Needle. Thank you for coming through. I will see you in these YouTube streets tomorrow, I'm sure. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. You and Blind Needle always come through and show me love. I really appreciate it. Yeah. But I mean, you know, I personally really wish that they would do more research on that. You know, I mean, if they're not going to do the research in the United States, they could do it in one of the countries in Africa, because we know that in the fact, you know, Black children, you know, and I'm sure there can't be that much difference between the Black children on the continent and the ones in the United States, as far as, you know, we're melanated people. So no, but they're still together. They're still together, though, Terry. Yeah, they're still together. Even though I don't watch the Braxtons anymore. You know, but apparently they're still together. And you can tell because she calls him by his government name. She never calls him Birdman. She always calls him Brian. That's why I know his name is Brian. Yeah, she's still with him. Yeah, Tamar probably married the African guy that she's with before Tony marries Birdman. Because You know, Tamar seems to be so happy with that guy, and he seems to be so nice. I think his name is David. I love his locks. I may not keep up with them that much, but I keep up with them enough to know who's with who. You know, and the fact that what's her name? What's the one? Trina. Yeah, the sister Trina, the one who was Trina was the one who was with the had only been like had basically dated Latino men. Yeah, now she's with a brother now. She came back over. And then I think the guy that she was married to previously, her ex-husband, the Latino guy she was married to, he died like a couple of months ago. That was so sad. But he cheated on her. So he needed to be gone from her life as her husband. You know, but I know it's devastating for him to have died. You know. Yep, but she's back with brothers now. She's dating black men these days. I was happy about that. Not that I had, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, Latin guys could be close. I mean, I've dated Latin guys, but they were black Latin, so I guess that's different. Because like in high school, I dated a guy that was Puerto Rican, but he was black Puerto Rican. And matter of fact, you know, the only thing that told you he was Puerto Rican was his last name, but he identified just like I did growing up in DC as black. We didn't identify as being Afro-Latino, you know, in DC. You know, I mean, I knew I was Afro-Latino, but I didn't really talk about it that much, you know. But when I came to California, I knew I had to put it on. When I came out here, because people would be around me talking Spanish and think I didn't understand it, I had to let them know. I had to let them know. I'd be like, mi familia es Afro-Cubano. So they stop, you know, especially when they be trying to say something about me. I'm like, I'm not going to let you talk about me, and I'm standing right here and I understand what you're saying. And my favorite words would be all of the neo curse words in Spanish, because there aren't really a whole bunch of real curse words in Spanish. It's just how you say certain things. I mean, there's a word for a couple of things, but for other stuff, there isn't a real word for it. It's just the way that you say it that gets the point across. I learned that from my dad when I was younger. But he freaks people. He would freak people out when he was out here in California, y'all, because they didn't know we were Hispanic. And his patients would come into his office, and I would say, "Oh yeah, the doctor speaks Spanish." And they said, "What?" And they straight up would say to me in Spanish, "I thought he was black." I said, "He is black, but we're Cuban." And then they'd be like, "Oh." And let me just tell you guys, when people would find out that when some of my dad's Latin patients would find out, like from South America, found out that he was Cuban and not just black, they would be so relieved. Not because of him being black, but because they knew that they could just talk to the doctor in Spanish, and they wouldn't have to bring their kids to the doctor to translate for them. And they wouldn't have to worry about whether the doctor was saying something that they didn't understand. you know. But it would be so funny. I'm telling you, Terry. You know, and I would tell my friends, you know, some of my friends, I said, well, you know, my family's Latino. You know, my dad speaks fluent Spanish. And then to make matters worse, my dad went to medical school in Mexico. He started at Howard. He did his first year of medical school at Howard. And then he transferred to a international medical school in Mexico, in Guadalajara, because he could get his medical degree in 3 years instead of 4. And since he spoke fluent Spanish, the curriculum being in Espanol was no problema. Oh yeah, it would be a riot for my dad when he would get gardeners and stuff out here, you know, at his houses and stuff, where, you know, when he lived, because my dad lived in Pasadena, and he would not always let the gardeners know that you know, he spoke fluent Spanish or anything. And it would be so funny when they would be goofing off or something. Workers would be goofing off, and he'd come over there and start talking to them in Spanish real fast and stuff. And I would just look at the looks on their face, and I would be dying laughing. And then I would tell them that we were Afro-Cuban, and that, you know, and that my dad went to Cuba every summer as a kid, you know, and he's been back there several times since they reopened the borders. So, but if this president has it his way, he's going to close them borders up. And I feel, you know, I have a mixed feelings about it, you know, because in Cuba, you know, the people who are being oppressed and really don't have anything are, you know, the darker people who look like me, you know, and my relatives are definitely darker, you know, over there. And, you know, and I mean, you just don't know what to believe about what's going on. What would happen if they went back to, you know, being boycotted and not being able to, you know, have Americans come into the country and everything. You know, I think that the way it is right now, that even though, you know, of the way that the country is being run, even though Castro is gone, his brother's just like him, I still think that somehow it will benefit the lower, you know, class of people who are of color, because really all the rich white Cubans, they already left Cuba. They all in Miami, you know, and all over Florida, you know, trying to mix themselves in with the Puerto Ricans. So, but I'll tell you what I always say. When we used to have offices for the company I used to work for in Florida, they were run by the Cubans, our Cuban, you know, employees. I would always have to go in there and have conversations with them, because I worked for mortgage companies. Man, the Cuban markets, they would be just doing so much fraud in those offices. I tell you, they were doing so much fraud, you know. And that's one of the times where, when I would first go in the office, I didn't immediately let those people know I understood Spanish. I just let them say what they were saying in Spanish. And then I would pull somebody in the office and they have a conversation with them about what was going on and why we were getting ready to close down their daggone office. So, yeah, they did a lot of disservice to a lot of immigrants that came over from the island. You know, but you know, like I said, I have mixed feelings, you know, about, you know, I don't really want the United States to put all that stuff back on Cuba, because I think that it's going to hurt the people, you know, the most that really need that revenue to be coming in, you know. And I would really like to go to Cuba. You know, I'd like to go there, you know, while my dad's still here and alive and everything, you know, and meet some of our family and stuff that's there and everything, you know, and meet these chocolate people, you know, that I'm related to that only speak Spanish. You know, to me that's like one of like something that's going to be so fascinating. That's exactly what I'm saying, Terry. You know, exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. You know, and then, you know, like one of the things that I found out looking up my family history and stuff is that, because I always wanted to know why I had an Irish last name, you know, and I knew my family was from Cuba. Well, the Irish were in Cuba. So that explains it. And the Irish were like, you know, just like here in the United States, where you know the plantation owners had their, like, the slave masters and everything. They had the person out there in the fields to manage the slaves and everything. Yeah, that's what the Irish did on the island of Cuba for the Spaniards. That's what they did. I know, and I just don't want that to happen to the island. Now, I do like the fact that they have those old-fashioned cars that run, you know, that are, you know, that they've been making, and they still run and everything, you know. I like that, you know, and I love the beautiful architecture and everything, because I mean, I've seen pictures and stuff, and my dad videotaped when he went down there and stuff, but I want to see it myself. I want to see it myself. Another reason why keeping a passport, you know. And you know, the conversation earlier about Brazil, that was very, very true about Brazil, because you know, me with my nerdy brain, you know, like I said, I study, you know, African history and stuff and everything. When, like, my 1 year in an HBCU at Hampton, I took 2 semesters of African history. And I'm telling you, the professor, I took a full load because I was, my freshman year in college, I was an architect major. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, I ended up in math and comp sci. But I would be in this class, the 2 semesters, and the professor just swore I was never paying attention because that was my sleep period. I'm sorry, you guys. But I was taking notes. Whenever I heard the chalk hit the board, I'd open my eyes, I'd write down what he was talking about, I'd highlighted in the book, and then I put my head back down and continued. I was listening to what he was saying, and he couldn't say anything because I aced all the tests. And I'm one of those people who keeps all this, what people might consider useless information about history in their, mental Rolodex, because I like to know things, and I like to know the truth, because, I know that a lot of the stuff that they teach is lies. I mean, they're trying, now you're starting to see more of the truth, because with the internet, it's hard to hide the truth for long. People go searching it out and everything. So yeah, and then you have people who have written all these books, and people, like you, Terry, and me, who actually like to read, will pick up their books and will read the books, And with the event of audiobooks, people have no excuse, because even if they don't like to read, a lot of these informative books have been put on audiobooks. So all they have to do is listen to it on their phone, and they can still get that same knowledge. But yeah, but that information he was talking about Brazil was very, very true. I mean, even though they don't really talk about it a lot, I mean, we know that Africans came to North America, and Africans went to South America long before Europeans did, because they knew that these two continents existed. Europe didn't even know they existed. They thought the next place that they were going to get to was India. Now, here's what I'd like to understand is, why didn't it occur to them to just go, down the coast of Europe and through the Mediterranean? I never understood why they didn't. Anyway, I digress. I digress. Because I'm thinking in my head, can't you get to India that way? I guess they were looking for a new route. They thought that maybe was a faster route. I don't know. But as we all know, Christopher Columbus did not discover America. You cannot discover a place that already has people there. And that other countries on the continent of Africa have already come to and visited, and have already left remnants that they were here thousands of years before you even thought of coming across the ocean. Probably when your ancestors were still in the caves, they were sailing the seven seas. I mean, it's just a known fact. I mean, if you look at some of the history, you'll find that some of the cultures in East Africa, is it East Africa or West Africa? In West Africa, I'm trying to think which side. In West Africa, were had strong seamen cultures in ancient times, and you can see the evidence of it, in modern day. No matter what happened when the Crusaders came in to Africa, they couldn't destroy everything. They were not able to destroy everything of those ancient cultures. Thankfully, and everything they destroyed, it was out of ignorance, thinking that they were better. Ignorance. But as I said before the time of the slave trade, there wasn't any colors, really. I mean, you know, it was where are you from? I'm from Ghana. I'm from Egypt. I'm an Egyptian. I'm Sumerian, you know? That's the way that things were. You know? And that's why, you know, and I understand that's why a lot of people of color here, you know, have an issue with calling, with some of us referring to ourselves as African Americans, because we're not from Africa. Our ancestors are from there, but we're American. You know, we are American. And you know, sometimes I just think we're confused because we can't make up our minds what we are, you know. I understand we don't want to call ourselves, you know, Negro, because that's you know, that's something that someone else made up. Someone made that up who couldn't say Niger or Nigerian. Niger, the country Niger. So, you know, they made up two words from that. They made up the word that we don't like to use, the N word, because we all know that that's really where it came from. It was dealing with a specific region of Africa. And it was Niger, short for Nigerian. But the connection. Yep. Yeah, it was about where you were from, because the first slaves, they, you know, the first people that were enslaved, they fought hard to hold on to where they were from, and then that got lost over generations because they split up families, and because really when they pushed us all together, you had people from different countries in Africa who spoke different languages and had truly different cultures that were put all together, because in their eyes we were all the same, even though all Africans were not the same. Oh yeah, I know. I'm just, you know, basically saying out loud what their thinking was. You know? They had a superiority complex. They thought they were superior when they really weren't. They really weren't. You know? And they destroyed the superior, they destroyed the superior nations and the superior peoples that were on the African continent through colonization, because the people that were taken from those lands were the people, were the thinkers, were the people who were of royalty, and you know warriors and princes and stuff. They took the best of the best from Africa and brought them over here and took them to South America and took them to the islands. That's what they did. They literally raped the continent of Africa of its most important resource, its people. But, you know, I'm not as radical as you think I am, Terry. Ha ha ha. You know, but if you get me started, you just find out where I really stand on a lot of stuff. I just sit back in the cut and listen to a lot. I listen to what other people say, but I'm a pretty smart woman, and I do my own research, and I can see, I can see what happened. I understand. There's a reason I call myself a purple diva. There's a reason why I love the color purple, because I know I'm royalty. I know I come from royalty. I have always known I come from royalty. I mean, it was literally in my DNA. I knew it was in my DNA. It's just all the things that we, as we find out more and more about the dysphoria and about the people that were really taken from Africa, because I mean, they didn't take prisoners and thieves, and they took the best people because they wanted to get them out of the way. They wanted to move them out of the way so that these lesser people in those lands could take over. Our ancestors were not really expected to survive the Middle Passage. And many did not. But our ancestors were the ones who did. But they did not expect, I don't think they didn't expect any of those people to survive coming over here in those conditions when they sold them off. They thought we would all die. They would all die on the way over. And we know that there's many souls that did. And and that's the thing, Terry, is that we already have the power. We just don't know it, and we don't know how to exercise it. We have it's like, and that's the sad thing, is that it's in us, but we have to get everyone to recognize that, and then once it's recognized, to actually utilize that power. Because all of the stuff, like all of the things, if when you deal with people talking about the European Christianity versus Christianity, you have many Black people in the United States that know the truth. And you have some pastors that are preaching the truth, that are showing us who we are and where we are in the Bible. And just as brother said on the other show, no matter what they did in their translations and trying to twist and mangle and make it suit their purposes for what they wanted it to suit, and presenting it to us, our ancestors, and to justify slavery. They can't twist what the original text was, and today many people can get to all the different translations and see what the truth and the true presence of people of color in that entire Bible. And who you don't find in that Bible? You don't find any of them. And that's the truth. I understand. And that's what I'm saying. That's why they changed the Bible to suit them, because they're not actually in there. They're not in there. They're not in there. They're not in there. They're not in there. Yeah. They are not in there. But in order to make Europeans accept it, they had to, push everybody else out of there and make it all about them, and make God in their own image, and add all their little statues and all their pagan stuff in there that's nowhere in the Bible. And that's the reason why you have the Eastern Church, which is the Greek Orthodox Church, and you have the Roman Catholic Church, because the Greek Orthodox was the Christian church that came out, and they did not agree with the paganism that was brought in by the Church of Rome. So there was a split. And then the Protestant faiths, they all came out of the Church of Rome. They all came out of, the church that had the paganism in it. So that's what people are talking about when they're talking about, that we have the European version of Christianity. That's what they're talking about. But like I said, if you're really trying to have a relationship with the one above, then you are going to do your own research. You're gonna look at everything, and you're gonna study accordingly. You're not gonna be doing the, taking somebody else's word for what's in there. They can twist it all they want, but it's still not gonna change the truth. It's gonna be a whole bunch of folk on the last day, in the white supremacy, who are gonna be surprise. They're gonna be surprise. It's gonna be a surprise for them. I'm telling you. But we are all spiritual beings. We are spirit. The real essence of who we are is what's going to live on past this human form. And he's right. Once you're out of this, there are different dimensions. There are different dimensions. We can't see. We can't see heaven. But God never said that heaven was someplace else. But it's definitely on a different dimension. That's why we can't see any of that, But I know that's kind of deep talk and everything. But it's just the truth. It's like that's why I don't engage in arguments, about my relationship, with the Most High. I don't have to because I know the truth. I know I'm not following a lie. I've been part of the Church of Rome, and when I left it, I left anything that had anything to do with that kind of craziness, period. And there's people out there that are coming with the truth and everything, but when you have people who use Christianity to promote racism and classism, that's where it becomes an issue, and that's where we deal with our people, you know, not wanting to accept the Most High because of the information that is being spewed about this false religion. That's not the real one, you know. And that is why I stay in a non-denominational church. That's only talking about the word. That's not hiding the fact that there are people of color in the Bible that wants to make sure that it's important that we know that we were always in God's plan. You know, that we are part of the plan. We were always in the plan. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But now y'all got me. Now y'all have me going off on a tangent. You know. But Terry, you know I can talk. I have a lot going on up in my head. That is why I'll be excited to be able to do the panels and everything and have discussions. But obviously when I do some of those, I'll have to do that at earlier times or like on a weekend, because like doing on a Monday or Tuesday night, you know, my normal time, I would do those kind of probably at an earlier time rather than at my normal time for my live stream. Because my late night live streams, I like this where we can just kind of hash it up and talk about anything, and it allows me to be comfortable and just hang out with you guys, and then just talk about what's going on, you know, in the world at large. But I know that I'm going to enjoy the small intimate chats while I have them, because I know that it's not going to be like this, you know, as I grow this channel. I know that there's going to be more and more people, you know, in here, but I'm appreciating the ones who are my day ones who are in here from the beginning, because as it grows, I'm sure that some of the subject matter that we're going to be talking about is going to start to get really, really deep, because I can get really deep. I can get really deep. And I love some of your commentary, Terry. I really, really do. You know, I mean, the stuff that you're studying, brother, man, you put me to shame. But I read a lot too. I do. Man, yeah. Bookworm is my middle name. Bookworm is my middle name. And that was one of the things that, like, when I had to downsize when I moved from my house that I had before to this condo, and I had to get rid of a lot of my books, but I donated them to the public library. Lucky dogs. And I had a lot of books by, you know, Black writers, because that's mainly who I collected my books from, like hardbacks by people who are African American. You know, but I'm going to definitely have to take a look at those books that you were talking about today, because, you know, I think I can get some more insight and some more information from that. And, you know, you need to do a series on some of that stuff, brother. You need to do a series on some of that stuff, because you got all that knowledge. I'm telling you, you know, I know you're waiting. I know you're waiting to start going live, but I can't wait till you go live. Yes, absolutely. You can always because I like reading, and I'm about knowledge. I'm not afraid to open a book. I'm not afraid to open a book. That's why I have to like make sure that I got money when I go to Barnes and Noble or something, because I can be dangerous in a bookstore. I can go in there and spend $100 easy, on books, because I'll see a couple of books that I want, but when I go in there, a lot of times you'll find some really, really good books that are on some really deep subjects in their bargain rack. But yeah, I can do some damage. But I love reading. I just love reading. Oh, they still talking about the daggone USC athletic director. I swear, sometimes in my head, because of all the scandals that are going on, I don't necessarily always want to tell people I went to USC, but hey, I went to USC. So, but did none of that. That's like, I'm sure that crap has been going on for years. They just finally just got busted with people paying to get their kids into school. I can't believe that just started happening. In the 2000s, I kind of think it's been going on for quite a while. It's just now, somebody got caught and it unraveled. But it's embarrassing for the schools involved, which include UCLA and USC. And I think Stanford was one of the schools too. And then you have Harvard, some schools back on the East Coast. All of the schools, excellent schools, as far as academics and everything. It's embarrassing for all of these colleges, But what's going to happen is that now it's going to be harder, not for people of privilege to get in. They're going to make it twice as hard for people who are not privileged to get in. They're going to make them go through twice as many hoops because of this stupidness that happened with people who had money. Yep. I'm like, my next house, I'm going to have a library. I'm going to have a room, a den that's just that has my bookcases and my books and stuff. So I can just sit in there and read. Yep. That's what I'm going to do. Because I'm definitely a reader. And it's like, and I feel so bad. Like, I have a lot of books on my iPad electronically and then in my Kindle, and I'm like so behind on my reading, but every chance I try to read, like now it's hard because I try to read like a few pages on books, but I'm so busy trying to finish the book that I'm writing that it's hard for me to do a lot of reading right now. So I can't wait till I'm finished with this book so that I can, read somebody else's stuff again and not be just reading my own that I'm writing. Oh yeah, no, I love my school. I fought hard to get in that school. I'll just tell you, because what the hey? They saying something about the Chargers are moving to London. Oh, that's okay. That's a rumor. That's a rumor. Dean Spanos came back and said they're not planning to go anywhere for a long effing time. So they're planning on staying in LA. I was getting ready to say, I said, wait a minute, what's going on with the Chargers? That just like threw me for a loop. Yeah, but once I'm finished with the book, you know, like I said, I already have a publisher for my book. Once I finish my editing, then I still have to send it out to an editor, and then I'll send it to the publisher. So, I'm trying to get all that done in the next couple of months. But I'm pushing, but it's gonna happen, and at the same time, I'm trying to do my YouTube grind, because obviously as soon as I get this book published, I'm gonna be talking about it on YouTube. I'm gonna be pushing it on YouTube. I am gonna be hustling it on YouTube, to get it out, to publicize it and everything. Yep. Yeah, no, the Chargers aren't going anywhere. It was just some rumor, but Dean Spanos, the owner, said no, they're not going anywhere. They went through too much to get in LA. They were trying to get out of San Diego so bad, but San Diego did them wrong, because they could, if they had, all they wanted was a decent stadium, and they've been asking for it for 20 years. So yeah. So right now, San Diego kind of got what they deserved. I mean, it's like they're probably hating LA right now, because we took everything. We took the Clippers back and we took the Chargers back, because both of those teams actually started in LA. And then went down there, and then both came back. But here's the thing. LA had two football teams before. The Rams were here, and then the Raiders came here. And so then they had two football teams. But when the Raiders came here, people treated the Rams, who were the original football team here, like the redheaded stepchild. And then the Rams left, and then the Raiders screwed LA and left too. And because of whatever happened with that Al Davis situation back then, the NFL made LA pay for it for over 20 years. Because they hadn't had a football team in LA, I think, since my son was maybe one. Because the Raiders left here like in like 96, 97, somewhere around there. They were gone before 2000. And there was not a team in LA for over 20 years. And now they have two. Yep. Now they have two. And the reason they have the two that they have, because it didn't matter what the Raiders did. The NFL was just playing with the Raiders by letting them think they were going to let them come back to LA. There was no way they were going to let the Raiders come back to LA. That's why they're taking their behind to Las Vegas. And hey, Oakland can be mad at them, but hey, welcome to the club. I said they messed us over to go back to y'all, and now they've messed y'all over again, and they're heading on out, going to a whole nother state. And Vegas has been dying and thirsty for a football team. They've been so thirsty for a football team. They would have done anything to get the Raiders to come to Vegas. So they got their wish. Yep. Yeah, there was no way. It was no way that the NFL was gonna let the Raiders come back to LA. They weren't. That was never gonna happen. That was never gonna happen. You know. And the Chargers got in here on general principle, really, because Spanos was able to work out a deal with the Rams owner. But the Rams owner is the one who did the smartest thing in the world. He bought that land up himself, because he's like, well, the only way he was going to get the Rams back to LA was if he facilitated it himself. And that's what he had to do. But I think we made it over our 2 hours. Yay! And this was a rough one for me tonight. It was, Terry, after being on a panel for 5 hours. So I've basically been on for like 7 hours live streaming, even though 5 of them weren't mine. But I've done a long one on here. But usually if I do a long one, it's because I come on in a day. So it's not at night. But there's going to be some long ones coming up, when we get some deep topics and everything. It's easy to go for hours. Yep. But yeah, I think we have made it to the end of our nightly broadcast from 9:30 to around 11:30 West Coast time. You guys have been tuned in to Not So Random Chat with DC the Purple Diva on this Transformation Tuesday night. And I will be back on with you guys tomorrow, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, for Wednesday. And as always, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for hanging out with me the whole time. Terry, you are a soldier. You are a soldier. And I don't know who the other person, I don't know if it's DOD or if it is Kingston still in the room, but whoever the other person is in with us, thank you. And until tomorrow, peace, guys. I'm out.